Hello again, Trucker Todd here. Earlier this morning, about 4 hours ago, I released a video about at Roadrunner if I was being baited and switched. And I'm going to attach that video to this, and then at the end of that video, I'm going to update you on what's happened since then. Since then, I have talked to two of the vice presidents of the company, and I now have a clearer understanding of the issues I had in the video, and I'll explain those at the end of this video. So if you've already seen the previous video, you can probably skip ahead to about the 16 or 17 minute part and see my follow-up video about what I've learned since that time talking to the two vice presidents of the company. I do want to be clear that neither one of them asked me to amend this video. Neither one of them asked me to take it down. Neither one of them asked me to change what I was saying. Both of them asked me for clarification about my issues, and then when I explained it, they explained it to me, and I'm satisfied with what I learned in those phone calls. So if this is new for you, go ahead and watch the video that I'm going to attach to this. If you've already seen the previous video, skip ahead to roughly the 17-minute mark. Alright, hang in there. Good morning, Trucker Todd here, and it's time for another video. This one's a little unplanned, and as you can tell by the title, it's probably going to go off the rails here pretty quick. So let's jump right in. I've been thinking for the last little bit about the perfect analogy to help you understand what I'm feeling at this point. The best I can come up with is, you know how when you buy something off an infomercial and it's supposed to do all these great and wonderful things, but then after you get it, you're like, wow, this isn't really that impressive. That's kind of how I'm feeling right now. And before the trolls jump all over me, yes, I know recruiters lie. Yes, I know companies exaggerate to try to get you to sign on the dotted line. But this is kind of technical and kind of complicated, but it'll make more sense to fellow Roadrunner drivers. Now, also, let me say that previous companies that I worked for, I quit them for reasons similar to this. One of them, all of a sudden, without any notice or warning, just stopped paying detention and layover pay. And for the dedicated run I was doing with them, it worked out to a very large amount of money. Another one of them had me do a trip, told me they was going to pay me for the trip. Actually, it was 2 trips. They later paid me for one of them after I did a video, but I still never got paid for one of them. And then later, I got a text message from my fleet manager. I know I told you I was going to pay you for that, but my boss said we can't, so I'm sorry, Todd, but we're not going to pay you for that work you did. Now, I was leasing a truck there, so I didn't only have the mileage and the time I lost, but I also lost the diesel and all the other expenses that go in that. Now, here's what's happening here. And this could all be a big misunderstanding. I've done everything I can to try to clarify, understand. And if I'm wrong, I'll make another video apologizing and explaining where the misunderstanding took place. Now, when I get a troll on here and they're like, oh, Roadrunner sucks, the first thing I always ask them is, well, who did you talk to about it? In my case, I've talked to my IC coordinator, which is your first line of contact, who you're supposed to talk to. And I spoke to her boss. And it's night and day. I showed her the text messages she sent me. They're totally different yesterday from what she said today. And so again, I hate, in a way I like handling stuff through text messages because then there's a record. But sometimes it's better to just have a good old-fashioned phone call. So I had a good old-fashioned phone call with her boss, and we didn't get anywhere. So here's where the confusion lies. Both the recruiter and in orientation, we were told we could pick our own loads. They give you a list. Let me show you the list so that there's no misunderstandings here. It's actually a multi-page list. Here's the first page. Everybody's email addresses. I'm going to do it like that so you can't see them. Here's the second page. Email addresses so you can contact everybody. Alrighty. They say, yeah, just a couple days before you get to your next delivery, email them, call them. It has their cell phone, their office number, their email. Let them know you're going to be there, when, where you want to go, things like that. They'll get you hooked up. Okay. Recruiter said that. Then I get to orientation. Same thing. They say the exact same thing. Well, I've heard it twice now, so I'm thinking, oh, this must be true. Okay. Orientation ends. I do that little trailer shuttle. They put me with a guy. And they said, okay, you're going to have this guy for your first 2 loads. He's just there to help you get your feet wet. After that, you'll be on your own. So I have him on the second load. That's that one going to California I did a video about where my air conditioner went out. I said, hey, I'm going to be California this day, Mariloma. I need to go to Texas to get my air fixed. No problem, Todd, I'll hook you up. He forgot about me. I got stuck in Mariloma. So I had to take a broker load to Dallas and then get a broker load from Dallas to Lubbock to get my truck work done. Well, because of that debacle, it was my understanding they put me with this other person, this fleet coordinator that's, or a procurement manager, whatever you want to call him, that was supposed to help me because I was a driver having problems. My only problem was that first guy they put me with didn't remember. I had the text messages. I could have showed him where I messaged him, where he said okay. But anyway, that's all water under the bridge now. So this lady calls me and she's like, my name is, and I'm not going to say her name on here, and I'm your new fleet coordinator. I said, I thought I was supposed to be picking my own loads. Oh, well, they gave you to me because you're having problems. I told her the story. I'm not having problems. She said, well, if you don't want to work with me, you can drop me and work by yourself. I said, well, since you're here, we might as well give you a shot. Let's try it for a few weeks and see how it goes. Well, during this time, things have been kind of rocky, as some of you know. First of all, their computers went down for 2 weeks. And so during that time, I gave them the benefit of the doubt. Hey, this probably isn't how it normally is. Their computers are down. So after that, I'm still doing almost all broker loads, which they call them backhaul. And in a way, they're great, and in a way, they're not. The biggest problem with them is it's a live load and live unload, whereas my LTL stuff are preloaded trailers that I can drop as soon as I get there. I don't have to wait to a specified appointment time. So typically you can turn more miles in a week doing LTL than you can the broker loads. Sometimes the broker loads pay more, sometimes they pay less, but they almost always take more time. And so yesterday, my IC coordinator, this is kind of what started the whole thing, texted me, said, hey, how's it going? I said, not that great. I told her what's going on. She says, well, I can switch your procurement manager, fleet coordinator, whatever you want to call them. But I got to get management approval is what she says. And I say, well, wait a second now. I was told that these fleet procurement managers, whatever y'all want to call them, are optional, that I could just get my own stuff. Oh, no, you can't do that. We got to have management approval. And I'm like, well, that's not what they told me. So anyway, long story short, she says, yeah, I'm going to switch you to another one. Well, then today she says, well, yeah, many of our guys don't have one of these fleet procurement managers. they just run on their own. And I'm like, well, yesterday you said that wasn't possible. She sent me a screenshot. I showed her where it said that in the screenshot and how she was changing it today. And so anyway, her boss finally, I had emailed him last night. He said, I'll call you this morning. He calls me after that, and he says, yes, some people don't have a fleet procurement manager because they were grandfathered in. I said, well, that's not true. There's a guy that was in my orientation class that claims he doesn't have one. And he's like, well, eventually everybody's going to have one. We started off with 3, now we've got 5, and eventually everybody's going to have one. And I've already talked to the orientation people about not saying that to future hires or whatever. And I'm like, this is bait and switch. I told him this. I said, this is bait and switch, because this is structurally different than what you told me when I hired on. But anyway, it is what it is. It's looking like I'm fixing to get another fleet procurement manager. And let me explain to you what the problem is. I took a load from Houston to Madera, California for $1.20 a mile. That's all in. And it was a backhaul. Now, before you say, well, you should have taken an LTL load. The LTL load they offered me was $1.20 a mile, but it had an extra stop on it. So it would have took an extra day, but because what they do with their stops on LTL is, yes, they take stuff off, but they reload it with more stuff to go to the final destination. So you can be there several hours, and it's burning your 14-hour clock, as you drivers know. So it typically adds another half day or a day on there for basically the same rate. So I brought that load out here, $1.20 a mile. The procurement manager, fleet coordinator, whatever you want to call her, was supposed to call me yesterday with load options. She didn't call. So I texted her. I said, hey, what are we doing next? Oh, let me check. Well, she comes back and she goes, we want you to deadhead. It's 150, 175 miles, which you do that for free, by the way. Let's keep that in mind. And then we want you to pick up a trailer and take it down to Commerce, and we'll give you $1 a mile for that. And then we want you to go over and pick up a loaded trailer and take it to Chicago. Well, now I had told her that, well, first, there's lots of things wrong with this. First of all, they're supposed to give me options, things I can choose from, what I want to do. She had already set this up without even talking to me. So I told her, no, I wasn't going to do it. But anyway, I had told them I have about 27 hours left. This run they wanted me to do was a little over 2,400 miles. I said, I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm not going to have the hours to make it to Chicago. I would have to average over 100 miles an hour to make that trip on time. And everybody knows fuel is the highest in the country in California. There's no way I'm going to drive back and forth, up and down California for $1 a mile. And that's to the truck. That's no fuel surcharge or nothing, the way I understand it. Just straight $1 a mile. Well, that's all we got. If you don't want to do that, you'll have to sit till tomorrow. We'll give you a Seattle load tomorrow, which paid a lot better, $1.90 a mile. But it won't be ready till tomorrow night, so just take your 34-hour break. I was a little upset about this because I had 28 hours available. It was silly to take a 34-hour break when almost half my hours are still available. But I said, okay. Well, then this morning, one of the actual planners calls me and tries to get me to do that Commerce load again. And I'm like, why would I do that for basically almost half the money? Oh, well, I really need to cover it. I understand. Those really need to pay more. So, I'm trying to think what I want to say here, because it's very possible I could be in the wrong. And if I am, I will get back on here and correct it. But just like my Why Do Companies Start video, I put on there that I'm out here to make money, just like the company's out here to make money. And it's got to make sense. And when you're trusting someone with your finances and your livelihood, you have to believe what they tell you is true. And when they tell you something that within 24 hours directly contradicts what they told you yesterday and what they've been telling you the past 2 months, it makes you really nervous. So I told my fleet coordinator, or IC coordinator, they got a lot of titles here. I told her this morning in a text message that I'm going to start looking at other options. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean I'm switching companies? Maybe, maybe not. Does that mean that I'm looking at legal options? Maybe, maybe not. But it means that I've got to take a hard look at this company and what I agreed to, because it's different than what I agreed to. And I'll make other videos and let you know what I decide to do. And like I say, this is just the early stages. It's growing pains when you start a new company. They're trying to learn me, I'm trying to learn them, and I'm trying to be fair to them in this video. But I had heartburn all last night. I was so upset. You can tell by looking at my eyes. That's why I've kind of done that a couple of times. I'm really upset about this. You know, trucking in general, and I'm not referring to Roadrunner here, feels like that they've got to trick drivers to get them or lie to them to get them. And they don't. All they've got to do is be honest and treat people the way they'd want to be treated. But anyway, you're going to want to see how this unfolds, and I want to see how this unfolds. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Share this video with your friends. Like I told my IC coordinator's boss, we're already in the canoe together now. So we got to go down the river together. But I'm certainly not happy about all of this. And for the first time since I've been here, I am going to be looking at other options. And who knows, the guy I really wanted to talk to is on PTO until Monday. He's taking kind of a long weekend. And after he sees this video and after he talks to the involved parties, we may have a better understanding on Monday. But I've definitely got a lot to think about this weekend. And just want to thank everybody for watching and subscribing. Hang in there, and we'll see you on the next one. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Okay, so now, like I said at the start of this video, 2 of the vice presidents called me, and they really made it a lot clearer. I do not feel like I was bait and switched at this point, and I do not feel that I was lied to. I do feel like there was a communication breakdown. Basically, they are coming up with these, and I'm still hung up on the titles. We laughed about that on the phone. I'm going to call them a fleet coordinator. At another company, they'd probably be called a driver manager. They had 3. They're upgrading to 5. Eventually, everybody at the company will have one, is my understanding. It is your option how much you use them. Just like the IC coordinator, it's your option how much you use them. They are there to help you. And it doesn't seem, that's what I was telling the second vice president I talked to. This is a different situation than most companies I've dealt with. Most companies I deal with, you have bad actors. You have guys that lie. You have guys that are dishonest. Things like that. Here we don't have that. Or I say that I haven't ran across anybody at Roadrunner that I felt was purposefully trying to screw me or purposefully trying to rip me off. I have ran into a lot of confusion, communication breakdown, and I guess that's common with any big company. One thing I know is that they are very receptive to criticism, well, constructive criticism. They're very open to new ideas, new ways of looking at things, and they're approaching it from a different angle. We all have the same goal. We all want the driver to be profitable. We all want Roadrunner to be profitable, but we're all approaching it from different angles. And you can tell when you're dealing with good people when they say things like, we want you to keep making the videos you're making, we want you to give your honest feedback. They're not telling me to soup it up or put a pretty dress on it. They're wanting me to tell it like it is. And so the update to this video is, at this point, it doesn't appear to be bait and switch. It appears to be miscommunication. I'm going to keep you posted on how it goes. And so don't forget to like and subscribe so that you'll see the future videos. Also, if you think you might be interested in working for Roadrunner in the LTL portion, send me an email. I got my email down in the comments, and I'll answer any questions or concerns that you have, and I'll get you paired up with a recruiter. And if they say something that doesn't sound right or that you've got questions about, you'll have access to me to where I can answer those questions for you. But anyway, everybody have a great weekend. I got a lot more videos coming. In the next day or two, I'll get them out. Right now, I'm going to Seattle, and then from Seattle, I'll be going to North Carolina via Nashville and Atlanta. So I'm coming to a city near you. But anyway, have a great weekend. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.